So when we were looking at the Amy Warden Soap Challenge past, catalog and list and things, this is one that I totally just always just scroll right past. I don't want to do it. But when the Soapprentice saw it, she got really excited because I guess this is a technique that's actually done in like gelatin, like jelly art, jelly dessert art. And she was really pumped to see how you could do this using soap. And so that's what we're doing today. I'm actually going to send you to the intro kind of quick today because there's a lot to cover with as far as what all of this craziness is. And I will tell you all about that in just a minute. But before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things, and you are here for day 318 of 365 days of soap. And today, we are tackling Amy Warden Soap Challenge Jelly Soap Challenge thing. Yes. Now, jelly soap, I think we've used it a little bit on the channel before. We actually like to mix it with melt and pour and do all kinds of weird stuff with it, for sure. But this particular thing, jelly soap, me or anyone that works for me, none of us actually like the way jelly soap feels and wiggles and squishes, and it's very much a weird whatever. But since the Soapprentice, since Georgia May had been really into like gelatin art at one point in her life, she was binge watching all the YouTube videos, doing all the things. She really wanted to do this one. Now what this is essentially, it is a blob of jelly soap, right? That you then take a cold process batch of soap, all fluid and emulsified and ready to go, and you get these little syringes and you inject the soap with cold processed soap. You inject the jelly soap with cold processed soap in different areas and ways and patterns to create what ultimately always ends up looking like a flower of some sort. And that was, once I learned that there was actually cold processed soap inside the jelly soap, I went, yeah, cool. Let's try this because that's weird. And so that's what we're doing today. Now today is my turn and I don't know what I'm doing. Like I have none idea. Whatever. But I really am looking forward to just playing with the syringes and all the different tips and whatever that we got. And you can watch that process, now. Okay, so the jelly soap challenge thing, which is kind of crazy and weirdly, we were both really intrigued with this. So the whole idea is you have your jelly soap, right? And then you take, a needle and like these tools that are used for like gelatin art, which I guess Georgia May got super into watching at one point in her life. So she was so excited when, we saw this challenge and I wasn't going to do it. And she's like, no, let's do that because we have all this jelly soap. And I was like, okay, fine, we'll do the challenge. And all of these tools are cute and fun, but I don't actually know what any of them super do, right? And also, you don't have to use them. Really, all you need is a syringe with that first little needle that I pulled out, and maybe like a knife, like a butter knife or a palette knife or whatever, to sort of move and hold the soap into different areas to do to actually do the syringe. It's not super necessary to do any of those tools. But we super wanted to try with these, so that's what we're doing. Now, I mixed a very teeny tiny batch of soap, and I'm talking like 3 ounces of total soap, and hit it to just an emulsion, so very, very fluid batter for sure with all of this. Now, I'm going to show you something you should definitely not do. Definitely do not push it in all the way till you feel the bottom of the mold and do your squeezy squeeze thing, because you're puncturing the outside of it. And what happens when you puncture the outside of it is that your cold process soap is, instead of being suspended within the jelly itself, it is going to come out on the other side of the mold. Oh God, that's not good. And so, I mean, it's fixable, kind of, at this point. I mean, at this point, I've also sort of just ruined this whole soap, and it's just going to be kind of yellow throughout everything, and that sucks. But you know, whatever. That's big pro tip: do not take your syringe all the way down to the bottom. Do not let it hit the bottom. Now, the idea is you press it in at different angles and in different areas on the in the actual jelly mold there. I'm like super not like a gelatin artist, right? Like this whole thing, I have no idea how these tools even work. I don't know if I should put the needle facing down or facing towards me, or if it even matters. I don't know. And so I'm literally just playing at this point now. And I think no matter what, it's going to create really interesting designs inside. And as Georgia May sort of pointed out when she was telling me about all the gelatin videos that she watched, like she binged years ago, it always looks like a flower. And so that's kind of what I was relying on as I'm just messing around with all of it and seeing, you know, what the actual soap can take. Now, speaking of the soap, there are things that I would recommend with all of this. Like I would definitely, the first thing is, if your jelly soap base is like kind of yellowy, you should blue it. It's a process called bluing. You take a little bit of blue and you put it in your soap to make it clearer. So there's that. But my biggest problem with this, actually, I mean, this yellow one, it's obviously because I messed it up to show you, hey, don't do this or whatever. But my biggest problem is actually the amount of air bubbles that are in there. So jelly soap to melt down and to do, it's actually not a lot of fun. It really is kind of annoying, because you do want it, like, at least I want it, fluid like melt and pour to pour. And I don't ever really get that. And then so I get super frustrated and just like start like stirring it really fast, and that's incorporating too much air into it, and so you have those air bubbles that just sort of stay no matter what, and so that's not fun. So I would definitely, you know, pay attention to the way that you are putting the jelly soap into the actual mold, and do things like, you know, stir it gently or nicely or whateverly to avoid air bubbles. You could also, as you're stirring, you could spritz it with rubbing alcohol to help those bubbles go down before you pour it into the mold, for sure. So, I mean, there are ways to do that. I guess I wasn't super thinking about the clarity of it when I started this whole process. And I should have been thinking about that. Like, we have a clear soap. You want to see the design inside of the soap, right? And so, I don't know. Those would be my tips. Do whatever you can to avoid the bubbling. And as far as what that is and what that looks like, I am not a jelly soap expert by any stretch of the imagination. So other tips and tricks I'm sure you guys have. So you guys should leave all those in the comments. The best way to make jelly soap super clear. Because I'm good at a lot of things and I know a lot of things about a lot of things. Jelly soap is nothing that I usually ever play with. So this is my experience with all of this. I recommend finding a way to keep all of the extra air bubbles out so your design will show really nicely, you know, when it's all said and done. So there's that. Now, again, this is all just incredibly random, and I've just been using the exact same batch of soap and adding more colors to it as I want to put more colors into the actual little jelly soap thing there. And again, I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's fun. Like, this is actually super fun, and it's a way for me to use up all the jelly soap that we have in the shop, because for some reason we thought that we were going to do something with it at some point and then went, I don't like it. It's not nearly as fun as I thought it was going to be. So it's a big no. It's a hard pass for me. And but this, using it like this, totally. I can see myself actually just randomly sitting down and I'm in the mood. I want to, still think like kidlets are wildly fascinated with this too. See the little finger coming in there? Yeah, I can totally see myself doing more of these just when I have downtime and want to get weird, and making more of these because it really was fun. This will get covered with a melt and pour and then will be set aside to dry, and then we can check that one out. But we're gonna go on to my second little flower jelly soap thing now and see, you know, what designs and colors or whatever I come up with for that one, and if I don't know, I mean, what I do with the next one. Let's go check that out. So yeah, this one is not as yellow as the last one because I didn't do weird things with the, you know, the thing, but it is still, like, I can see the clarity is, I would want a better clarity for this. Honestly, I want to be able to see the design, and if there are ways to do that, you know, we'll do the thing. This was another technique that the instructor for this particular challenge suggested, sort of creating the circles so you knew where to put each different layer of depth and color and all the, you know, designs or whatever to really fill up the whole thing. And that's a cool idea, and so I tried it, but then I realized my jelly soap is still too cloudy, so I couldn't really actually see the circles anyway. So there's that. Take that for what it's worth. And I am, again, just playing. I have no idea what I'm doing with any of this, and it's all a thing. That is something that with the these tips, that is, you definitely want to get those cleaned out and probably set them in some sort of like hot water solution or something to clear out the tips between uses, because this little teeny tiny amount of, like, these needles are so small that they get, if just the smallest bit of soap gets stuck in them, the whole thing is clogged and it's crazy. So yeah, keep that in mind. Make sure that your tips are cleaned out between uses, because weirdly it dried so quickly between the two, between the first jelly soap that I made and this one, that my original needle was already clogged and I had to take needles to it, needles to the needle, and all of the things. Yes, so there's that. And I kind of decided that I didn't want to do that yellow. I wanted like a more orangey yellow with the syringe. And also I really like just this needle tip. It's a lot of fun. And so this one's cute. And also I don't know. I really wish my soap had been more clear so I could kind of play around with what these other little tools do. But as I'm looking at them, I start going, yeah, I'm going to do this for like a regular batch of cold processed soap. Because if like that little, for like a regular loaf, right? Like, what do you think that would do if I took that little leaf looking one there and used it like in place of a squeeze bottle and just ran it down the length of a loaf of cold processed soap while I'm depressing the syringe? Do you think it would just create like a leaf inside the, I don't know, I'm infinitely fascinated by the whole process. Like, maybe it won't, but now I'm going to try. I'm going to play with it in different ways, like in real cold processed soap and not just within this, because that's kind of fun. I don't know. When there are things in front of me that I don't understand, I'm obsessed with them and do all of the things with it until I feel like I have an understanding. It's just part of my personality, really, and what makes me me. So yeah, I don't know. This is fun. I like really do recommend, if you guys have jelly soap just hanging out, do the thing. I'm using a big bath bomb mold for this, so like a larger one than the normal bath bombs. And these are ones that I usually use for like gender reveal bath bombs, because usually they're just dropping one into something, whatever. So we do that, but it's a lot of fun. So if you just have jelly soap laying around, I really do think you should play with this just for funsies, because it was actually super enjoyable, and you don't have to make a lot of soap for it. Like, again, I made a little teeny tiny 3-ounce batch. Like, it's such a small amount of soap that you're starting to measure things out in grams instead of ounces, so you can get the good measurements on your scale. Like, that's how tiny the soap batch was. So you're using, like, you know, an ounce or two of oils just to dick around and be like artsy. And so that's cool. I'm definitely a fan of that. And so I think you should try this. I found it very enjoyable. Now, whether or not Georgia May ultimately will find it enjoyable, we don't know. We will find that out tomorrow when she does hers. But as I said, she was the reason why I said okay on this particular challenge, because when I first saw this challenge, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And then she said something about gelatin art, and then so I actually opened up the link and looked in it, and I was like, oh shit, that's cold process soap within the jelly soap. That's cool. Like, that's okay. That's fun. I like that. I like hybrid soaps. They're awesome. And so then I got intrigued. And so at that point, this became a thing, and Georgia May was already excited, so I'm sure she's going to love doing hers and all of the things as well. But I don't know. I like it. There's not a whole lot to it as far as teaching technique is concerned. It really is your artistic eye and your ability to sort of see things in three-dimensional whatever in order to create your leaves and your petals and all of the things, and like the stamen and the pistils and whatever of a flower, really, if that's what you're going for. But if that's not what you're going for, that's cool too. Like, you can do literally whatever you want with this, which is one of the reasons it makes it so cool, really. Now, this final color here, yeah, there's a lot of mica in that, but I'm thinking it really doesn't matter. Because what do you think about actually using these soaps? Would you use them? I don't know if they would be used. I don't know if this is the type of soap that's meant to be, I mean, all soap is obviously meant to be used, but this is obviously not something I would ever put in my line, like ever, but that's true of most of the soap challenges. But this one is more for not the lack of ROI, like the time spent versus what you can sell it for. It's more of I really don't know that there's a market for this, that people would just consistently buy these really cool but kind of interesting to use type soaps. I mean, I guess you could just have it sitting on your bathroom counter and then just, you know, wet your hands and sort of rub them on, you know, it looks like an implant. It looks like a silicone implant. So it's kind of looks like a boob. But I mean, maybe there's a market for everything, I suppose. But I don't know. What do you think? Is this something that would be used and like saleable, or is this something that like somebody would buy once and just never ever use? And there's Scout, you know, telling me you should put some soap there. That's a good idea. Do that thing. She was very helpful. They were both very intrigued by this, and so I do think that they are going to get a chance and an opportunity to play with some jelly soaps too, and maybe we'll put their footage on the channel because that would be cool. Let's go check these both out. Okay, big reveal time, and yeah, see the cloudiness? I'm not super in love with how cloudy that is, but you can sort of see like the green on the side and everything. Those are very cool. Like, and also you can see it a lot better in person than what the camera is really able to pick up, but that does have a lot to do with the clarity overall. And that's funky. That's super crazy and weird. I love that. That's really weird. And you can actually feel the soap. Like, the cold process soap cures up inside the jelly, and when you stick your finger on it, you can feel it inside it's so squishy and crazy and weird. Like, these things are wild. Now, I am going to take some rubbing alcohol to this and see if maybe we can clear this off a little bit and improve the clarity there. So, you know, we'll check it out. And also, Soap Clay Kill It #2 just like snuck into the room and screamed, "Boo, I scared you," while I was filming, and she did. She actually scared me. I legitimately jumped. So, good job, Scout. There's that. And yeah, no, I think adding enough rubbing alcohol to it, which I think I'm going to try to do, maybe, could definitely get it done. But it's cool. It's real weird in there. Like, that was fun and weird. and cool and weird and squishy and awesome. That was fun. That's day 318, the jelly soaps. And there they are, my jelly soaps, and they're weird. Yeah, for sure. They're all very, very yellow. Yeah, the reason that the first one was yellow was because I punctured the bottom of the soap to show you what not to do. Like, don't start squeezing if you can feel the bottom of your mold with the syringe needle, because then it's just going out of the, and it makes a big old mess, for sure. But then mine ended up yellow as a result for that one. For the other one, I mean, I didn't blue it. You can definitely blue clear soap by adding a couple of drops of, like, well, in my instance, because I literally learned this from Brambleberry, it was the blue mix that she uses, just a couple drops from the lab colors, and it clears it up. Secondary problem with all that, though, is there's lots and lots of bubbles in jelly soap, and I'm not patient enough to actually fully melt it down and give it the whatever, and no. So mine ended up with bubbles too. But you can feel, the crazy thing is with the cold process inside of it, you can poke it and you can actually feel the hard cold process that has solidified and actually saponified and done its thing inside the jelly. It's super wild. I really, really recommend like everybody just trying this because it's very fun, and I found it to be actually very like therapeutic, just doing the things, and no matter what you did with it, it still looked kind of cool at the end. You just have to work on getting your actual jelly soap more clear so you can see more of the stuff inside. Yes, absolutely. So for this, the Soapprentice will be tackling the jelly soaps as well tomorrow. And so if you would like to be reminded about that and come back and see what she did, because you know she's going to do awesome things because she is our resident artist and great at all of the things, subscribe to the channel. And then you'll get notified and reminded when I drop the video. That would be awesome. For those of you who are subscribed to the channel, hey, you're going to get notified for when I drop the video. And you, in general, just as a human being, are awesome. Just for existing, but for spending some of your day with me, because that's amazing. That's like humbling and shit. Like, it's crazy. So yes, I appreciate you, each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining me for another round of 365 days of soap. I will see you guys all again tomorrow. Bye.